On July 4th, 1776, a group of 56 founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence to officially declare their freedom from Great Britain as an independent nation, the United States of America. This revolutionary document, penned by Thomas Jefferson, began with stating rights that the signers believed every government should protect for its people, then laid out the grievances the colonies had with Great Britain for not upholding these rights. According to the Declaration, the consequences for a government failing to protect these unalienable rights was for the people of that nation to abolish the government and create a new, more just government. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When Thomas Jefferson wrote these words, he had in mind certain ideas that had become popular during the Enlightenment, a period during the 17th and 18th centuries that led to new ideas in philosophy, politics, and art. Jefferson's ideas of these unalienable rights originated from the English philosopher John Locke. In Locke's Second Treatise of Government, that was written in 1689, he spoke of natural rights that he believed were God-given and could not be given away. Among these were life, liberty, and property. Being a thinker of the Enlightenment, Jefferson was familiar with Locke's writings and other popular contemporary ideas, which influenced the Declaration. After introducing the idea of unalienable rights and the consequences of a government not protecting them, the Declaration continues on to state an overwhelming list of 27 grievances with Great Britain. One of the common subjects of these grievances was taxation without representation. During the 7 Years' War, Britain's debt doubled. Their solution was to tax the colonies to recoup some of this money. However, this angered the colonists because they had no representation in Parliament. This caused so much frustration for the colonists because many believed that being taxed without having representation violated the Magna Carta, a document made in June of the year 1215 that was meant to place limits on the monarchy to stop it from abusing its power and establishing that the king and government are not above the law. The first grievance in the Declaration of Independence to reference taxation without representation was Grievance 3. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. This principle was referenced again in Grievance 13. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. Since the colonies insisted that the only governments that could tax them were the governments that they were represented in, aka colonial legislatures, Parliament imposing taxes on the colonies was seen as subjecting them to a jurisdiction foreign to their constitution and unacknowledged by our laws. Then taxation without representation was brought up yet again in Grievance 17, for imposing taxes on us without our consent. Along with taxation without representation, colonists were also furious with Britain due to something that they called the Intolerable Acts, also called the Coercive Acts by Britain. These were a series of acts imposed on the American colonies as a response to the Boston Tea Party. With these acts, the British closed off trade in the Boston harbor until the owners of the tea thrown into the harbor had been compensated. Britain also banned town meetings and increased the power of the royal governor. Additionally, British troops and officials started being tried outside of Massachusetts for charges of murder. The Quebec Act also angered colonists because it gave land to the French instead of adding on to the American colonies. The anger towards these acts was shown by several grievances in the Declaration of Independence, starting with Grievance 4. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. This was a reference to the Massachusetts Government Act, which was imposed in 1774 and was what allowed General Thomas Gage to dissolve Massachusetts' current legislature, created a new one, and forced them to meet where he desired them to. The Intolerable Acts were referenced once again in Grievance 8. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. This referenced the abolition of the colony's ability to appoint its own judges so that Parliament could appoint the colony's judges instead. Then the Intolerable Acts were referenced yet again in Grievance 19, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. This referenced how anyone accused of committing crimes against those administering to the king's laws in Massachusetts could be sent to another colony or even to England to be tried. The Declaration of Independence was influenced by many events and popular ideas of the time. These events and ideas led to the founding members of the United States rebelling against tyranny and signing a document that would have led to their deaths if the rebellion failed. All of these points were laid out skillfully by Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence and sent to England, following which a war officially started and history was changed forever.